Hey guys, it's December 12th and I want to discuss just a couple of news which is very interesting, and the first of which is to do with the continuation of this Bitcoin strategic reserve business, right? So 10 more US states are on the path of actually approving their state level legislation to approve SBR, Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, and also some other news that a major city in Canada have just approved a similar sort of move to include Bitcoin. And I will show you a clip from President Trump about some more positive news on Bitcoin and crypto. You can see that the strategic Bitcoin reserve legislation will indeed be introduced in the 10 US states, says an insider. So Dennis Porter, who is like the founder of the Satoshi Apt Fund. Now this is quite an important fund in the US because they were pivotal, who actually pioneered some of the initial US states to include Bitcoin in its strategic reserve, like Pennsylvania. Now, with their intervention, they've actually succeeded in bringing another 10 more US states to introduce legislation that would actually help to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve at the state level, right? Now, this is absolutely key because he goes on to say that we are on the course of going to win with Bitcoin and we will lead the world. No one will come close and the world will follow our lead. Now this makes sense because, as you all know, that President Trump it's just a matter of a few weeks where he's going to be swearing his oath into office in January next year for the presidency. So this is just like a precursor to the things that's going to come ahead once he's occupies office next year. So this is going to add more momentum, and there's going to be more states going to be following. So there's going to be this domino chip effect that's going to happen. And then final cherry on the cake will be when the US, at a federal level, includes strategic Bitcoin reserve in the coming weeks and months when they occupy the office. And also more and more states coming into the Bitcoin strategic reserve bandwagon and incorporating Bitcoin in the local state level. So this is fantastic news. I also like to jump into this other article, which has a similar sort of news, where Vancouver's Bitcoin strategy advances with city council backing. So if you delve into the covers, it says that Vancouver is moving ahead with plans to become a Bitcoin-friendly city, as the city council has green-lighted a motion to explore Bitcoin integration. The mayor, Kent Sim, has actually introduced a bill that was initially proposed, and it's coming into effect as a result of this vote that took place on December 11th. So the motion has been passed, and I suspect that this is going to be very interesting because Canada has a similar sort of evolved government administration in the country. So Vancouver is going to be, I think, the key catalyst in order for the other major cities in the country to also follow suit. And then at some point, maybe not with Justin Trudeau, who is currently the Prime Minister of Canada, but certainly at this major city level, there's going to be some momentum happening in terms of passing similar pieces of legislation at the city level or indeed at the state level. Until such time there is a pro-crypto, pro-Bitcoin politician at the federal level to close the deal in making the whole country embed Bitcoin as a strategic reserve in its national treasury. But that's just a futuristic aspiration at this stage. But nevertheless, having said that, Vancouver City actually including the strategic Bitcoin reserve now in its city's finances is yet another great news. Now, let's go on to the central banks because, as we all know, I have actually explained this in a couple of my episodes earlier on in my channel, where I've painfully made it clear that we are in the cheap money era, where we have been seeing interest rates cuts happening every month in each of the Financial Monetary Committee meetings. So you can see that today's output of the European Central Bank's Monetary Policy Committee, they've actually have introduced another 25 basis point cut, which is a 0.25% rate cut. And the expectation is for the Federal Reserve, who've actually initiated the rate cuts around the world, they're going to be following suit in next week's FOMC meeting. And similarly with the Monetary Policy Committee meeting at the Bank of England on December 19, they're going to be making a similar sort of rate cut. So the whole world is going through this cheap money era whenever we are seeing these rate cuts, it's like giving a signal for investors and savers out there to use their money held in cash deposit accounts to invest on Bitcoin, which is, as we all know, it's the hardest asset out there, and take that to your advantage, because this is momentary, even though this is we've been 6 months into this cheap money era where we've been seeing these interest rate cuts happening around the world, and it's set to continue at least during the first quarter of next year. Now I want to go into this video clip and just listen to what he has to say.
You're embracing crypto, very different from the previous administration. Strategic Petroleum Reserve for crypto?
Yeah, I think so. We're going to do something great with crypto because we don't want China or anybody else, and not just China, but others are embracing it, and we want to be the head.
Right. So the message is super clear. President Trump, when he occupies himself in office in January, he's been making these several appearances, just reiterating and commentating that he has ambitious plans to fulfill his pledges during his presidential campaign, and crypto being the number one. So I would suspect that he's going to actually do everything he can, and he will, to make US great again in every sense of the word, but particularly on a crypto side of things, because he's made so many pledges, made so many appearances, even during the New York Stock Exchange when he rang the famous bell to kick off the trading session today, December 12th. And then in some other interviews that I've seen him being vocal, he's very serious, and he's going to be capitalizing his experience in his first term in office, and is more prepared now to navigate his way through the political system. So I think he's going to come with that added baggage of experience and a huge raft of pledges and measures that he wants to see through when he occupies the Oval Office next January. And crypto is certainly going to be one of those marquee moments where he's going to be expected to do something fantastic and positive, right, for the entire crypto industry, and particularly on Bitcoin. And that's going to see the greatest momentum and pushing even further up the value or price of Bitcoin in the weeks and months ahead during his 4-year presidency. So we need to watch this space. So this is fantastic, fantastic news. I want to leave one final note, another indicator which demonstrates the tremendous surge in Bitcoin purchasing demand from institutions, which completely outstrips the current supply of Bitcoin in circulation, right? It currently is around 20 million coins, and there's 1 million left to be mined over the course of the next 100 years. So it's fantastic, this headline, because it says institutional appetite for Bitcoin has indeed grown since Donald Trump won the US election back in November. So if you remember, in the beginning of last month, in November, we were hovering around 60,000 US dollars. Now, ever since he's won the election, he's actually included $40,000, between $30,000 to $40,000 gain in a matter of the month when he was nominated as the winner. The current price at the moment is December 12th. We're still hovering around $100,000 mark, and we're seeing some sideways price action happening. Now, this is typical because we're approaching towards the end of this year. There's a series of rate cuts that's continuing to happen from the central banks, as I just explained. So, and also the investors are eagerly waiting for President Trump to actually swear oath to occupy his presidency in January. So I think we're going to be continuing to see this price action. I think the $100,000 milestone is going to be pretty much being retained until such time that President Trump, after the Christmas holidays, the New Year celebrations have taken effect, and when he swears his oath in office, this is where we're going to really see a noticeable increase on the price of Bitcoin. As we all know, this is going to really go into the parabolic phase in 2025. Now, what was remarkable that 2024, we've seen some fantastic milestones. We've got ETFs that's been approved January this year. We've also seen the new FASB accounting rules, the new fair value accounting rule that's been approved by the US financial accounting standards body. That's going to take effect in January next year, which would mean that corporations, for the first time in history, can incorporate Bitcoin in its balance sheet to actually account for both the upside gains as well as any losses, like with any other intangible asset. So this is fantastic news. So kind of summarize 2024 as the institutional milestone completed. 2025, nevertheless, is where I expect the sovereign adoption to start commencing. So I expect 2025 to be truly parabolic. It's going to be the year for the sovereigns to fully adopt Bitcoin in its national treasury reserve, not just from the US and at the state level in the US, but also many other countries out there are going to be following suit. So I think everyone is just waiting for President Trump to occupy his presidency in January, makes these pledges into fruition, making US a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And then the rest of the countries, they're going to really follow suit and start ramping up the legislation activity to pass through, because this is going to be a fight to the end in 2025, which would mean that the actual sales pressure is going to be felt, is going to be really parabolic. So we're going to see humongous, and I mean humongous candlesticks upward direction, where everything's going to go up to the moon in terms of Bitcoin price. So this is a golden opportunity. Please don't lose it, seize it, because when things really go over the roof, this is where the remainder of the investors out there, they're going to fall out and be left behind. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to hit the like button. And please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, as I regularly post some interesting podcasts such as these to do with Bitcoin and everything to do with blockchain and the future of finance. So until next time.